Imagine a case so twisted that two dead bodies present the least concerning piece of evidence, and that every single answer just brings more questions. Well, today we have that kind of case. So, without further ado, let's dive into Misterio das Máscaras de Chumbo, or Mystery of the Lead Masks. Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana. Okay, that sounded more like Spanish than Portuguese, but it's all I got. Anyway, those guys were from the city called Campos dos Goitacazes, which is located somewhere in Brazil. And there were some kind of electronic engineers by profession, so I don't know what exactly that is, but obviously it has something to do with a bunch of stuff that I really don't know much about. One day they decided, because they were also family men, they decided to tell their wives, hey, we're gonna make some trip to buy some equipment for our work. And supposedly they were planning to go to the city of Sao Paulo. So basically they said goodbye, make some dinner when we get back, and off to the bus they go. But the problem was they didn't board on a bus that was headed to Sao Paulo, but was headed to the city called Niterói. And this is where the story begins. When they arrived in the city of Niterói, they made a couple of stops before they were headed further. And they decided to, I don't know if it was a gas station or something similar, or it was some kind of supermarket, but they made a stop and decided to purchase some very unusual things. They also bought some electronic, so it has some truth in that, but they also bought two matching raincoats and a bottle of water. And they actually took receipt from the water, which will be very important later when we come to the theories. So two matching raincoats, two matching raincoats and a bottle of water, and off they go to the next stop. Important thing to mention here is that while they were in that gas station or supermarket or whatever it was, the bartender who sold them the water, I think it was a female, noticed that Miguel was really, really nervous, and he constantly checked his watch every 3 minutes. So she figured that whatever they were planning, whatever they were going to do, wherever they were headed, they were in a very big hurry. The final destination was Morro do Wintem, which is translated something like Wintem Hill or something. And they actually found somebody with a jeep to transport them to the bottom, the bottom of the hill. That was the last time anybody saw them alive. It was August the 20th, so 3 days after they left the jeep and headed into the mountains, into the hills. And one boy who was flying a kite, I think it was 18-year-old boy named Jorge da Costa Alves, or Alves, I don't know, sorry for my Portuguese, man, really sorry. Anyway, the boy stumbled across, as we now know, 2 dead bodies, which were in some kind of high grass. So logically, he went over there to make sure if anybody is alive, and after he established that unfortunately nobody is alive, he decided to naturally call the police. And this is, I don't know, it's kind of funny situation, because the terrain in Morro do Wintem was really, really rough, and the weather conditions were pretty bad at the time. So the police was yeah, we're gonna come to investigate, but we're gonna chill out and wait for the weather to be a bit better, so they're yeah, they're dead, they're not going anywhere, and we can afford to go there on this extreme weather. And So it was. They came back 2 days later or a couple of days later, and naturally they start securing the whole scene and examining for evidence. So they found him, as I mentioned, in the high grass, and they were wearing that raincoats they purchased, but over their formal like suits. So it was like indicating that maybe they had some kind of meeting or something, but we'll get into that later. So beside them they found empty bottle of water and a backpack which contained 2 towels and mystery note. After they examined the crime scene a bit more, they established that it looked like there was literally no struggle whatsoever. So the grass wasn't like disturbed, demolished, whatever you want to call it. It looked like they just laid there. Somebody just dropped them there and that was it. Now, because of that delay from the police, the bodies were obviously not in good shape, right? Because a couple of days had passed by and they were like in extremely bad shape. So decomposition, decaying of the body was like taking place, and because of that they weren't able to extract any desired DNA to perform some analysis and also do a tox screen. So really important stuff, that fact. The note was like really weird, and I'm going to read now what it said. Unfortunately, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but maybe we can connect that with some theories later. So the note was saying this: 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals. Await signal mask. Now, as you guys can see, this sounds like some kind of complete trash, gibberish. So what kind of capsules, what kind of ingesting, I mean, what was going on here? Nobody had a clue. And they established that the note was written with a couple of, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but very important like grammar errors. So they started to theorize that somebody else planned it, there to try to, I don't know, dislocate, put the police on a wrong track maybe. And the last thing they found is a pair of like homemade lead masks. So masks made out of sheet metal, which by some accounts were supposed to serve as some kind of reflection or protection from radiation. So everybody started wondering what kind of radiation there were on the hill. What was going on here? So to sum it all up, 2 electronic technicians from a small city in Brazil went to the city of Niterói, bought some very unusual items, went to the Wintem Hill, Morro do Wintem. 3 days later, found dead with a pair of lead masks beside them and the suspicious note. So what the hell happened in those hills? The problem with this case, mainly when the theories are in question, is that there are like so many of them and they vary on a 2 completely different levels. So from the crazy ones, paranormal ones, to the normal ones, impossible ones. So we're gonna mention them all, so hold on, you're gonna hear some pretty crazy stuff. Theory number 1. Now, the first thing when this theory is in question is that we must mention that those guys were like obsessed with NLOs, with aliens and all kinds of stuff. And by some accounts, they were like part of this group called Scientific Spiritualists or Spiritists. I don't really can recall now, but it was some kind of, I don't want to say cult or something, but definitely something that explores like different side of science, and they search how should I say this, they search different solutions than conventional science can offer. So in translation, they're thinking out of the box, let's just say that. And it seems like many electronic engineers in Brazil are like part of this, so I don't know what's up with that, but apparently it's a thing in Brazil. So with that being said, by some accounts they were really like eager to establish contact with the guys from above, and on one occasion there is information that they actually built some kind of device in their backyard and they tested it and it exploded. So they tried to repeat the same process on some beach. I don't really recall the name right now, but by some accounts and by some witnesses there was something in the sky which exploded when they turned on that device. So I don't know if the people were like really high, all of them, and they like imagined seeing things, or did the government knew something and they, you know, covered up the whole thing. And actually there was another guy called Elcio Gomez, which was their friend, and he helped them, you know, develop or, you know, set up the meshing device. So at this point my camera died, but long story short, the theory goes that aliens actually took their revenge and wasted them after they blew their spacecraft on the beach. So whoever came up with this theory is a freaking legend. Let's go to the second one. The second one refers to the fact they actually committed suicide. And this has some sort of similarities with Marshall Applewhite, the guy who, you know, run the cult called Heaven's Gate. And it was like suicide committed with these two guys who believed that with that they will get closer again to the guys in the sky. So that scientific spiritualism, or whatever it's called, it's basically like a cover-up for some kind of cult. And they thought like, if we do this, we will get closer to them, and who knows God else what. So we must do this. And many people theorize that the capsules which are mentioned in the note actually refer exactly to that. But the problem was that when they did analysis and or autopsies of the bodies, they didn't manage to find anything because their internal organs were like completely dissolved, melted. So there's not any proof that they actually ingested any capsules whatsoever. The third one refers to illegal substances. All right, so they were clearly fanatics of their little side job or side hobby. I don't know, maybe it just wasn't just a hobby for them. Maybe they really discovered something and they were on the track for something big. So I don't really know, but the point is that and this theory like connects with the previous two. If they like wanted to commit the suicide and establish contact with these guys, they had to do it with the help of, you know, some illegal substances. And the theory goes that they simply overdosed and, you know, dropped there on the spot. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but again, we can't determine because it bothers me how a little police work was actually done on this case, and many things like remained untouched. So the main problem was that autopsy couldn't, tell us anything about their final moments or things similar to that. So we can just, assume, hey, that happened or something, but we can't know for sure, because touchscreen would be really, really important here, since all the factors in play, especially the capsules. But without that, I mean, there's just two bodies in the grass who were gone under the very mysterious circumstances, and that's it. Theory number 4. So with all being said, this one just might be the most, realistic one, and the answer to maybe what happened with Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana. So there was a guy, a prisoner, if I remember correctly, named Hamilton Bezami, and he was in a prison as far as I understood, and when the case, went viral, so to say, he offered, to help with the investigation and confess a couple of things. And one thing he confessed is that he played a role in their murder. So it was like a conspiracy. They planned to kill and rob them, actually to rob and then kill them, logically. And he said some details that, police heard for the first time, but they actually just couldn't connect him and his accomplice with any of that. But what he said was actually this: we killed them both and we forced them at gunpoint to take the poison. So was the poison actually in those capsules? In some way it makes sense, and in some other it really doesn't, because obviously what he would gain making himself and some random other guy that we don't know of, what would he gain admitting to this? I mean, maybe some international fame or something, because the case was at very high peak at the moment and he just wanted his, 50 minutes of fame. But again, maybe it was like a deal gone wrong, and there were some theories, I didn't want to mention them, but that they were like some kind of spies. The theory about the spies is when is involved in pretty much everything. So every single mystery murder, it involves he was some kind of double agent, he was some kind of spy, and government got him or them or I don't know what. But another thing was they were actually illegal electronic traffickers, and they went onto the middle or top of the hill that day on the 17th August to sell some equipment. And they brought with themselves some kind of small nuclear reactor, and there was some kind of similar device they built which exploded in their backyard. And they were they made a theory that they wore the glasses, the masks, because of the radiation from that reactor, and the customer who was supposed to buy this reactor said, hey, let's test this thing, you can swallow this capsule, this poison, and we're gonna see if this reactor really works, because if it works you will be fine and nothing will happen, and if it doesn't work, you'll be laying in the grass there for a couple of weeks. So I don't know, it's like pretty stupid theory when all things are considered, but people have really good imagination. So I guess it was worth mentioning in some sort of way, but I really much doubt that happened. So yeah, again, after all the theories, we're still nowhere. So we have the mystery masks, glasses, whatever you want to call them. We have a note which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We have two dead bodies in the grass on the place which was not disturbed at all. So it indicated that no fight had actually ever took place there. And we found empty bottle of water with the receipt, which was indicating that they were planning to give the bottle back for recycling. So if it was suicide, why they took the receipt? Why they bought all the gear, all the electronic gear beside raincoats and water? If it were drugs, why police didn't find any kind of spilled tablets, pills or something around? If it was a murder, again, no murder weapon, no footprints of another person. The story of Hamilton Bezami is just ridiculous. It doesn't blend in at all. I'm really speechless. So I genuinely don't know what to think about this case, because it's so... There are not many informations we know about, and only thing that is left is like to speculate and to guess and to make countless theories what happened with these two people. Obviously, there was something else to them, because when you build, for God's sakes, a device which explodes in your backyard, I mean, you cannot be completely normal. And then you build the device again and test it on a beach, and you blow up some spacecraft on the sky, apparently. I'm not saying it actually happened, but that's what the story goes. So what the hell happened? What do you think the hell happened with these two guys on Morro de Wintem? Let me know in the comments. And I guess that was it. See you in the new one.